Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly. I am tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing details. Today we have a model launched in 2021. This is about as posh as Tudor has ever been, with an original retail price of $17,800. This is the Black Bay 58 18 karat. Coming out the same year as the sterling silver, it proved that Tudor could push not only into Rolex price range, but top-level Rolex price. This watch can go blow for blow, at least in terms of price and materials, with its big sister from Geneva. Let's take a look at what this watch has to offer, because value is definitely part of the equation. 39 millimeters in diameter, 12.9 millimeters thick, 47.7 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip, with 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. The watch is part of the Black Bay 58 family, which means it's considerably thinner, shorter across the wrist, and smaller in diameter than the traditional 41 millimeter Black Bay we've known since 2012. Now, on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, particularly down the barrel, you can see these lugs are coming nowhere near the edge of my wrist. You can also see over the top, which always exaggerates the width of the watch, that the lugs still don't project beyond my wrist. And being a fairly thin watch, at 12.9, it will slide underneath the cuff, so you can wear this formally, and you should be able to, given that this easily costs as much as 2, 3, sometimes even 4 other Tudor watches. So you're going to buy this, or you're going to buy a Tudor collection. This better be capable of being your dress watch and your sports watch. Taking a look at the strap, it's something we rarely see on Tudor timepieces. Large rectangular scale alligator leather. It's a very dark brown, semi-gloss, sheer cut side, thick cut leather. You can see a contrasting stitch here, a little bit off-white to match the tone of the gold. We also have a matching yellow gold Tudor pin buckle, a feature I happen to appreciate. You can see it has an elevated bridge above the prongs on the side, so that the strap sits flush inside the buckle rather than stacking up with extra height when it's buckled on your wrist. So I like that feature quite a bit. The case is simple, satinated, and that's in good taste. If this were polished, it would be overwhelming and overbearing. We have satination on the case flanks, on the lug hoods, and then we have those lovely bevels that, while mechanically applied today, remind us of the golden era when Rolex and Tudor shared Rolex manufactured cases that included hand-formed bevels. So this is a nod to that era. Now you can see the 1968 and later Tudor Shield logo on the dial, and the early 1968 and prior Rose logo on the crown. It is a screw-down crown. The watch is 200 meters water resistant. We have an anodized aluminum bezel insert, and we have a 60-click bezel that has a nice sharp micro knurling on the edge that's really easy to grip, maybe even more so than the knurling on Rolex dive watches. We have a bubble-like sapphire that's designed to evoke vintage plexiglass, and the Black Bay 58 really is a nod to the kind of submariners that Tudor and Rolex were making back in the late 1950s. So yes, this is a throwback to Tudor's own heritage, but because there was so much cross-compatibility of parts, Tudor and Rolex subs were extremely similar. Tudor often embodies the heritage of both its own brand and Rolex's. Great example of that is something like the Black Bay 58 or the Black Bay Pro GMT that happens to look just like a first-generation Explorer 2. So this is the retro watch that Rolex, because of corporate custom, is not allowed to do. We have a matte green olive dial that matches the aluminum insert of the bezel. We'll do a quick lume shot so you can get a sense of this watch in the dark. Note all 3 hands are loomed, so it's really easy to see if your watch is running. You can line that bezel pearl up, unidirectional bezel, with the minute hand. Now you have a 0 to 60 minute count-up timer, and it's even more salient here, but you can see that some elements of this watch were drawn from other eras than 1958, as it includes a late 60s through mid-70s snowflake-style handset. We do have golden hands and applique indices. Those applique indices, a big step up from the kind of hardware you would have gotten on a Tudor Submariner in 1958. And you can also see something that was at the time fairly new for Tudor, which is display casebacks on their manufacture movements. Now, this wasn't the first time we saw that, but it was new to the Black Bay, and it's not something we we're familiar with seeing on the Black Bays. Now this one still has a little packing sticker on the back, so that'll be removed when the ultimate owner takes delivery. This is the caliber 5400 series. Now the 5400 is smaller than the 5600. It's thinner and smaller in diameter. Tudor went and built a special movement just for the Black Bay 58s. So it's an automatic winder with a 70-hour power reserve, a hacking seconds function, a 4 Hz beat rate, 27 pivot joules, an anti-magnetic silicon escapement, a COSC chronometer certification, and for shock resistance, we have a full balance bridge and a free sprung balance. But dimensionally, compared to the 5600, this is 5 millimeters thick by 30.3 millimeters in diameter, whereas the 5600 on the larger Black Bays is 6.5 millimeters thick and 31.8 millimeters in diameter. So this is a special movement just for the smaller Black Bay 58s. Now, I talked about value earlier, and I do think that it's always best to buy a watch that depreciates when it's still new enough to have warranty, but old enough to have reached its set point in the market where it's not going to lose anymore. So these retail now pre-owned for about $10,000 to $11,000, just so you know where you stand. And you get an awful lot of watch for that money. If you love this watch, reach out to me. I am Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.